Who controls Jamaica? Ask the average Jamaican that question, and you'll likely get a simple answer: the government. But press a little deeper, and the confidence fades. Some will point to foreign investors. Others will blame the dawns in the garrisons. Some might just shake their heads and say, "I don't know." The truth is, power in Jamaica is layered, complex, and often invisible. It's not just about who has the loudest voice or who wears the biggest title. It's about who shapes decisions, who moves money, and who can remain untouched while others are held accountable. This video asks the uncomfortable question: who really controls Jamaica? We're not just talking about elected officials. We're talking about the systems, political, foreign, and economic, that dictate how this country operates and who benefits the most. Let's break it down. Part 1: The Face of Power. Government and politics on paper. Jamaica is a parliamentary democracy inherited from British rule. We have a Prime Minister, members of Parliament, and a Governor-General who technically represents the British Crown. Elections are held every 5 years. Citizens line up at polling stations. There are rallies, manifestos, debates, and at the end of it all, a new government is either re-elected or voted out. This is democracy in action, at least on the surface. But dig a little deeper, and cracks begin to show. Jamaica's political landscape is dominated by two major parties: the People's National Party, PNP, and the Jamaica Labour Party, JLP. For decades, they've traded places, sometimes peacefully, sometimes with violence, often with scandal. Party loyalty runs deep. For many, political allegiance is inherited like religion. Communities are divided not by class or values, but by color, orange or green. But for all the political noise, how much real change do we see? Successive governments have promised growth, better infrastructure, and jobs. Yet poverty persists. Crime remains high. Schools and hospitals struggle. The cost of living rises faster than wages. So what's going wrong? Some say the system is broken. Others say it's working exactly as it was designed to benefit a few while keeping the masses just comfortable enough to stay quiet. Jamaican politicians, though publicly elected, are often beholden to private interests, donors, corporate sponsors, and foreign stakeholders who fund campaigns or offer advice. Behind closed doors, power doesn't always come from the people. Sometimes it comes from the ones with the deepest pockets. Even within government, true decision-making isn't always transparent. Many major contracts, appointments, and deals are handled without public input. And when corruption is exposed, when there are clear signs of misuse of public funds or abuse of power, investigations drag on. Cases disappear. Officials resign quietly, only to return later with new titles. In short, the political class may be the face of power, but they're not the only ones behind the wheel. Part 2: The Foreign Grip. How external powers shape Jamaica. To understand who controls Jamaica, we can't ignore foreign influence, especially when it comes to money. Jamaica's relationship with foreign powers, particularly through economic dependency, has shaped much of its modern history. Let's start with the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. Since the 1970s, Jamaica has entered into numerous loan agreements with the IMF and other international lenders. These loans often came with structural adjustment policies, reduce public spending, privatize state-owned assets, cut subsidies, and open markets to foreign competition. The result: a lighter government budget on paper, but real-world consequences. For citizens, Hospitals suffer staff shortages. Schools operate with outdated resources. Transportation systems crumble. And social welfare programs remain underfunded. Why? Because when you're in debt, your options shrink. You do what the lender says, or you don't get the funds you need to keep the country afloat. This is what some economists call debt colonialism. The country might be politically independent, but economically, it's still tied to the decisions of foreign boards in Washington, Beijing, or London. In recent years, Jamaica's debt has decreased as a percentage of GDP, a positive sign. But that didn't come without sacrifices. Public sector wage freezes, high taxes, and the selling off of national assets all helped balance the books, but also placed extra pressure on working-class Jamaicans. Then there's China. In the last 2 decades, China has become a major player in Jamaica's infrastructure development. Highways, ports, government buildings, many are built or financed through Chinese partnerships. On the surface, this looks like progress, but when you read the fine print, questions arise. How much land is being leased or sold to Chinese companies? Are local workers being hired at fair wages? What happens if Jamaica defaults on a Chinese-funded project? There's a risk that Jamaica could become too dependent on Chinese investment, just as it once was on the UK and the US. And with dependency comes compromise. Let's not forget remittances, a major source of income for many Jamaican households. Every year, billions of Jamaican dollars come in from family members living abroad. That's money being sent from the UK, the US, Canada, often used to pay school fees, rent, and groceries. While remittances support families, they also reflect another reality. Jamaica is losing talent. Skilled workers are migrating for better opportunities, while their loved ones back home depend on foreign economies for survival. In this way, foreign powers influence not just our economy, but our way of life. Part 3. The Silent Class, Jamaica's Economic Elite and Old Money Beyond. Politicians and foreign powers lies a third layer of control, one that rarely makes the headlines. Jamaica's economic elite. These are the powerful business families, corporate board members, and legacy landowners whose influence stretches quietly across generations. Some of these families trace their wealth back to colonial times, when land was distributed to European settlers, and enslaved Africans worked the plantations. When slavery was abolished, the British government compensated the slave owners, not the enslaved. That wealth, over time, became generational capital, land, businesses, influence. Today, many of Jamaica's largest companies in banking, insurance, media, real estate, and retail are run or owned by a small circle of families or corporate entities. They control supermarkets, construction firms, hotel chains. They sit on boards of universities, own major media outlets, and influence policymaking through lobbying and campaign donations. This group rarely appears on election posters, but their phone calls get answered. Their concerns shape budgets. Their problems become national priorities. They don't have to control the government directly. They simply make it work in their favor. And because Jamaica has one of the highest levels of income inequality in the Caribbean, the gap between rich and poor only widens. While downtown fights crime and inflation, uptown invests in gated communities and foreign passports. This elite class is not inherently corrupt or evil. Many are educated, philanthropic, and committed to Jamaica's development, but their power remains unchecked. When one group controls land, labor, and legislation, even quietly, democracy begins to feel like a performance. One where the script is already written, and the ending rarely changes. So, who really controls Jamaica? Is it the Prime Minister, elected by the people? Is it the IMF with their spreadsheets and strict conditions? Is it the silent elite with their inherited wealth and boardroom deals? The answer is all of the above. Power in Jamaica isn't held by one group alone. It's a tangled web where politics, money, and foreign interests overlap. And here's the hard truth. None of these groups give up power willingly. Change doesn't come because it's fair. It comes because people demand it relentlessly, strategically, and fairlessly. So what can we do? We start by asking better questions. We start by holding our leaders accountable, not just during elections, but every day. We start by understanding how money moves, who profits, and who pays. The price we invest in education, not just academic, but civic. We create independent media that isn't owned by political parties or corporate sponsors. We support local businesses. We protect our natural resources. We empower the youth, because real power doesn't come from waiting. It comes from knowing, and then acting. Conclusion: a new path forward. Jamaica is a land of beauty, brilliance, and resilience. But it is also a land shaped by exploitation, past and present. To build a future that serves all Jamaicans, we must understand the forces that shape our present. We must look beyond party lines and question the deeper systems. We must trace the money, watch the contracts, follow the silence. And we must never mistake visibility for power. The ones who really control Jamaica aren't always the ones in front of the camera. But when the people open their eyes, raise their voices, and demand more, that's when real control begins to shift. Until then, the question remains: who controls Jamaica? And are we brave enough to change the answer?